I think the time I love the most is the time from about, say, July 25th to about August 25th, because that's when football is sort of reborn every year. Everybody's in training camp, everybody's got a shot, and the way the NFL is, everybody really does have a shot. So it's fun to be able to go out and to spend some really good time, instead of the 8 or 10 minute snippets after the game. I mean, you can actually sit down with people for a significant amount of time, and everybody's optimistic, everybody's a little bit more relaxed before the game starts. So I would say the summer period, sort of getting to know the teams and the game again, is my favorite time. Being a Hall of Fame selector to me is it's really an awesome responsibility, because I think when you look at how important it is to so many people, I've seen over the years, and I remember, it must be 15 years ago when Tommy McDonald, the old Eagles receiver, got into the Hall of Fame after waiting and waiting and waiting. And he was so thrilled. He was so excited. I really think it changed his life. And, we don't, as selectors, go into it to say, we want to make this guy's life. We want to make this guy happy. But you can just tell how excited they are and how much it means to people. So I think that part of it is very enjoyable. But I think the most important thing is it's almost a grave responsibility as well, because you realize that people's lives, careers, everything are going to be affected forever by getting into the Hall of Fame. So we want to make absolutely sure that we make the right decision, as much as close to it being the right decision as we can. We just want to have a good conscience about it. And so that's why I really enjoy doing it, because I think that I just appreciate the opportunity to sort of do something that is so important to the game itself and to the people who've been great in the game. I am not one of these guys who go to the combine and say, well, there's going to be a guy who goes in the Pro Bowl and stays there for 15 years. Because I think a lot of times what we do when we look at events at the combine, we sort of forget that it's not a very physically competitive event where you're going up against somebody else. It's basically individual things that you're doing at the combine. So it's hard to look at a guy and say that guy is going to Canton one day. But I've met a couple of players that when I walked away from them, I felt like that guy is going to be great forever and has a really good chance to go to Canton. Probably the one most recently was Andrew Luck. I remember meeting him at the scouting combine, spending some time with him, I think on Saturday night at the combine. And we were meeting in a hotel room, and you could look out over the city of Indianapolis, and there, not very far away, a few blocks away, was Lucas Oil Stadium. And I said to him, well, there's going to be your office for the next few years. And he basically said, hey, not so fast. And I said, no, you know you're going to get drafted by Indianapolis. But you can tell, I think, as much by the kind of person a guy is, and also, I think it's much easier, I think, for the media to look and speak to positions like quarterback, especially highly valued quarterbacks, and have a really good feel about how good they're going to be. I had a strange football hero. I like two guys a lot. I grew up in northern Connecticut, and my big hero as a kid was a tight end for the Giants named Bob Tucker. The Giants weren't very good at all when I grew up. And one year, Bob Tucker had a great year as a receiver. And I remember just thinking, watching him every game, catch 6 or 7 balls most games. And he wasn't a huge guy. And I always used to think, my God, they must know that he's going to be getting the ball. Why can't they stop him? And so He was sort of my, my favorite player as a kid. But I also really, really liked Fran Tarkenton as a kid. He wasn't with the Giants for a long time. He didn't have his whole career with them because obviously he also played in Minnesota. But I just loved, Fran Tarkenton, who, for people who don't know Tarkenton all that well, he basically was Johnny Manziel before Manziel. And I think he was so much fun because you could just tell how he ran around and was such a good leader, how much he loved the game. So those are probably my two favorite players as a kid. The one thing whenever I come to the Hall of Fame, I always feel like, because so many people who are represented in the Hall of Fame or who are enshrined, I know and who I've dealt with over the last 30 years. So whenever I see something like, for instance, the New York Giants defensive game plan against Buffalo, in the Super Bowl 23 years ago now, whenever I see something like that, and I see basically how to combat the no huddle and things, you just realize really smart people in this game can do great, great things. I think the combination of having good players and good coaches is why I really appreciate the NFL so much, because it isn't just the guys on the field. You have to have great players in order to do this. But the team aspect of it, where you've got to have coaches, you've got to have scouts who go out and look at, say for the Giants, I remember Tim Rooney was their pro scout, who Bill Parcells and Bill Belichick really, really valued, because he would come back and he would say, okay, against the Bills, you've got to do X, Y, and Z. I have no idea what he told them, but you got to do and they would take that to heart. They were such a good team because Parcells trusted Tim Rooney, Parcells trusted the personnel evaluation part of it. Parcells then trusted Bill Belichick to do a defensive game plan. Belichick in turn trusted his players. And it all sort of worked in harmony there for several years. And the great teams have people who trust each other, from the coaches filtering down to the players, and then from the players going back up to the coaches. So those are the kind of things that I respect about football in general. And you come here and you see the great advantage over the years of things like teamwork. And those are, I think, really good values that the game teaches.